It is 13 days till the man burns, and we're talking about some tips for ladies going solo. I do have some other videos on, how to have fun going solo and stuff, how to just kind of survive if you're going on your own, but this one is specifically for ladies. So first up, I think I mentioned this in my other video, but if you are going alone just because, you don't know anyone that wants to go or no one else is able to go with you, and you don't really want to go alone, then you could join up with a theme camp, or you could find another camp to join. So with the theme camp, you just need to find one that you're really kind of passionate about what they're doing and see if you can join up with them. And if you just kind of want, a regular camp, you don't want to join a theme camp, you just want some other people in your camp so you're not completely alone, then, you will sometimes see posts on ePlayer or the subreddit for Burning Man that are people looking for other people to join their camp, or other people that are looking for a camp to join. So you could always connect with those people and kind of say, hey, I'm going alone, I'd really love to join up with you. You could post yourself and just say, you're going alone, you'd really love to meet some people that you could camp with or camp near. And if you have any meetups or anything like that in your area that you're able to go to, then, you might be able to go there, you might meet up with some people that you like, you might be able to join their camp or, camp near them, so that when you get there, you kind of have some people that you already know. So if you don't really want to go alone, then, there are some options out there for you to find other people to go with. Of course, some people, they just want to go alone. I imagine it can be an incredibly amazing experience to do something like that alone. So if you are going alone, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. If you're with a group of friends, you kind of have that support network. You all keep an eye on each other a bit. Make sure you're not getting into mischief. Make sure, no one's getting dehydrated and cranky and things like that. Because your friends are going to be able to recognize if you are acting out of character and if you maybe aren't taking as good care of yourself as you need to. So if you're going alone, you need to pay a bit of extra attention to how you're feeling, making sure that you are not dehydrated, making sure that, you are eating enough food, you are getting enough sleep, you are applying enough sun cream, and you're not just turning into a lobster. All of that kind of stuff. When you're choosing your camping spot, then you'll really want to pay attention to the neighbors. Meet them before you decide to set up there, because you will probably want to have neighbors that you can see yourself getting along with, some really nice, friendly people. People that, if you have morning coffee with them, or if you just kind of stop for a chat and a bit of a hangout, people that you are actually going to get on with. Something that is great about Burning Man is having really nice neighbors. And also, if you do make friends with your neighbors, then you do kind of have someone to keep an eye on you a bit. If you've forgotten something or you need something, then, your neighbors might be able to help you out with that. If you get sick or something, or you're just, you're feeling really bad one day, then, maybe your neighbors are going to just kind of help you out when they are back at camp. Maybe they'll cook you dinner or something, or just, check in on you, make sure you're okay. So it's definitely worth hunting out the diamonds in the rough, finding some really, really lovely neighbors. I do think that something that can be a concern for ladies going on their own is, sexual harassment or sexual assault, those kind of things. So firstly, to put your mind at ease, the number of reported sexual assaults are incredibly low. But obviously, that is just the amount of reported ones. There's no way of knowing how many go unreported. But unfortunately, that number is not zero. So it is a good idea to still, take precautions to not put yourself in situations where you are potentially vulnerable to things like that happening. If you are particularly bad at being upfront and saying no to people that, are trying to chat you up and things, then get some practice in at, being able to say no. I think for many people, if you've had someone in a bar or something that's come and tried to chat you up, and you've tried to politely reject them and let them know oh no, I'm not really interested. Sometimes they can get a bit aggressive, sometimes they get whiny, or they see it as some kind of challenge, and then they just kind of won't leave you alone. And it can be quite an intimidating situation, especially if they are getting aggressive. So make sure if you do find yourself in that kind of situation, you are able to be firm if you need to be. If kind of, politely trying to say to someone oh no, I'm really not interested, no thank you, if that's not working, be prepared to just be very, very firm about it and be, look, I'm really not interested, I'm going to go, or can you just leave me alone, please? Normally, just by being really upfront and honest with someone and just saying, can you just leave me alone, please, it's going to be enough to make that person realize there's no point in continuing to attempt to chat you up. If that doesn't work, if the person is harassing you or they're becoming aggressive, then, you know, see if there's like a group of people or someone that is nearby to you that you can just ask for help. Just say to them, hey, can I just come and stand with you for like 5 minutes because this person won't leave me alone. And, you know, once you're with like a group of people, the chances are that person is just going to give up. With alcohol, if you drink, I don't think it's necessary to like go completely sober and say like, I'm not going to drink anything, you know, but be aware of your limits and be aware that those limits might be a little bit different because of the environment you're in. I think the altitude and stuff and maybe dehydration like makes alcohol have more of an effect on you. But basically, it's probably a good idea to avoid getting like so drunk that you're like blackout drunk or you're like out of control. You want to make sure you stay at like that level of drunkenness where you're drunk but you're not so drunk that someone would be able to take advantage of you. Also, if you have gone over your limits, you've kind of bordered into out of control drunken territory, it might be an idea to head back to camp and just go and sleep it off if you are not feeling great with kind of being out of control. Whatever you're drinking as well, make sure that you see it being poured. And not just in theme camps, you know, whatever camp you're in, if you're just hanging out in someone else's camp, make sure you see your drink being poured so that firstly, you know that nothing is going into that drink that shouldn't be. And secondly, so you can see how much alcohol is going into it so that you can keep an eye on how much alcohol you're actually drinking. For some people, it's easier to just kind of know how much alcohol they're consuming, like how many units, compared to like assessing how they're feeling. Because sometimes, you know, you might have another drink, but it might just be that drink that like just pushes you over the edge into like crazy land. Make sure that you are drinking plenty of water as well if you are drinking alcohol, because alcohol dehydrates you. If you drink lots of water, then, you know, you're not going to be as dehydrated. You're not going to feel as rough the next day, especially if you drink a lot of water just before you go to sleep. And also I find that if I'm drinking alcohol and water, I'll tend to drink less alcohol because there's only so much room in my stomach, like, and water is taking up however much of that space. So you're much more likely to just like space your drinks out a bit better than, you know, if you are only drinking alcohol. Be aware of your surroundings as well. You know, you're in like a crowded place, as many people, it's much less likely that someone is going to try and take advantage of you because you have a lot of people around you. And if you do feel like someone is like trying to take advantage of you, or they're sexually harassing you, or they're attempting to touch you without getting consent first, or they're just behaving in an inappropriate way, if you're in a crowded place, you have many people around you that you can turn to for help. And, you know, many ways to kind of get away from that person. If you're in a very isolated area, there's no one around or not many people around, it can feel a bit more intimidating because you don't feel like you have people around you that are able to help you, or, you know, someone to turn to get help, or you can't just like kind of disappear into the crowd. If you are hanging out with people and you get like a weird vibe, then, you know, it's best to just make your excuses and leave. I know it can seem weird if you're like, well, they haven't actually done anything, I'm just kind of getting a weird vibe like where I am right now. It's better to just go and find somewhere else to be, rather than like sitting around and waiting to see if, you know, your bad vibe was justified. Sometimes you just get weird vibes off of people or the environment that you're in, and there's really like no reason for it. You know, if you are feeling like that, like, why stay in that place if it's making you feel a bit weird or a bit uncomfortable? It's much better to just go off and find somewhere where you are feeling like happy and nice and you're getting a good vibe. If you do have someone that is sexually harassing you, you know, like I said, call on the community for help. Go and get a ranger. If you've been sexually assaulted, you know, go and get a ranger. They're going to be able to help you with the situation. They're going to be able to, you know, take you to a safe place if that's what you need. They're going to be able to give you whatever support you need if you are, you know, in a tough spot. If you do get sexually assaulted, there is support systems at Burning Man for that, you know, mental health support. There are the law enforcement officers, there's medical, there's rangers, you know, there is a lot of support if something bad does happen to you, but please report it. If you don't report it, then that person is just still out there at Burning Man. So I hope this wasn't too like scaremongering and you're now all just like a little bit terrified. Like I say, the amount of sexual assaults that happen at Burning Man is incredibly low, but, you know, because it's not zero, it's best to just kind of keep your wits about you. I feel like many of these things are just kind of general girl barcode. You know, everyone knows to keep an eye on your drink to make sure no one's trying to like slip anything into there that shouldn't be going in there. So it's very much the same kind of things and awareness that you would have if you were going to like a party or a bar or a club or something. General kind of staying safe stuff. Another thing with alcohol is, you know, if you go out drinking with a group of friends, you normally all kind of keep an eye on each other. You kind of prevent each other from making terrible decisions. And if you look at lots of kind of the disaster stories from Burning Man, they usually start with alcohol. So, that's why it's important to kind of be aware of your limits. You don't have this group of friends to keep an eye on you to make sure you are not doing anything dangerous or something very out of character that you maybe wouldn't normally do, or that they think that you would regret the next day. So, if you're alone, you need to be on top of that. Even if you make friends with like a group of people and you are all going out together, there is that possibility that you will lose each other. Especially if they're like new friends, they're people that you've just met and, you're kind of tagging along with their group. There is that possibility that you will somehow get separated from them, and they might just think that you've decided to go off somewhere else or something like that. And so, whereas your close group of friends would probably be like, oh, hey, where are they? And come and try and actually find you. If it's a new group of friends, they might just think you've gone off and they may not come and try and find you. So even if you are with a group of people, it's still worth paying attention to those limits and trying not to, go past them too far. If you do meet the burner of your dreams and you kind of want to go off and have a bit of intimate time with them, basic sex safety stuff, which I'm sure many of you know about, use protection. You can't tell if someone has an STD just by looking at them, so, make sure you are being protected. And a slightly weird one that is unique to Burning Man is player dust. It is very alkaline, and you kind of want to limit how much it's rubbing around against your bits and pieces. So before you indulge in any intimate situation, you kind of want to make sure that hands are free of player dust and places that are going to be rubbing together are free of player dust as much as you can. I know it's probably not super romantic to stop proceedings and be like, hey, can you just wash your hands and sanitize them and stuff before we go any further? But, UTIs and yeast infections are a kind of common player ailment. And I think it's to do with the player dust. It throws off the pH balance of that little ecosystem we have between our legs. So, limit how much player dust is kind of getting down there. Also not very romantic, but pee afterwards, because that's another kind of common cause of UTIs. It's not peeing after you have an intimate moment. So yeah, not romantic, but afterwards, head off to the portaloos quickly, or, pull out your pee funnel, however you're dealing with that kind of stuff. It's a good idea to think about your boundaries before you go to Burning Man. Figure out what you are comfortable doing and, where your line is. What is the line that you just don't want to cross? Because then if you are in a situation where there's the temptation to cross that boundary, then because you've set it before, it will kind of just give you a moment's pause before crossing it. It gives you time to just think, okay, I decided before that I didn't want to do this thing. Now I'm considering doing it. Am I really drunk? Am I really in the right state of mind to make this decision? Or is this a decision that I'm going to regret in the morning? If you do meet the burner of your dreams and you kind of want to go off and have a bit of intimate time with them, then make sure you are clear about those boundaries that you set for yourself before you came to Burning Man. Or if you didn't set them, make sure you are clear about whatever boundaries you do have. You're going to have a much better time with that person if you are clear about what is okay and what isn't okay. So I hope this was helpful, guys. If any of the rest of you have any tips or tricks or advice for ladies that are going on their own, then let us know in the comments below. And I hope you ladies that are heading out there solo, I hope you have an absolutely amazing time. And if you see me at Burning Man this year, feel free to come and say hi to me. Bye, guys.